I know we're going to go over my gene keys and hologenetic profile, which I'm so pumped about because you sent me a little advanced PDF. And just in my preliminary glancing over it, I was like, this is going to be mind-boggling in the best way. But before we do that, can you give us a synopsis of what all of that means? Because I'm sure my listeners are familiar with birth charts, and I've had somebody come on and read my birth chart. But from my understanding, gene keys and the hologenetic profile is different. It's part birth chart, but it's also all of these other layers.
Yes, it does have a complex amount of layers, but also can be so intuitive once you dive into understanding what it's about. So I'd love to explain further for sure. So I'm going to go back to what you just said when you said illness leads to wellness if we let it, and suffering ceases to become suffering the moment it finds meaning. That is in a way like the foundation of what these gene keys are all about. And I want to start there because basically I'll explain the nitty-gritty of what they actually are, but what you need to understand is that this system is basically a language of shadow frequencies, like an understanding of the way that shadow and fear shows up in our lives in different ways.
Yes.
And the actual gifts that lie inside of those. So basically the wellness that exists in the illness, the meaning that exists in the suffering is in this book, is in this text. And so when I discovered it, it was like that moment of just being like, oh my, this is the book of like it, like this is the understanding.
I just got full body chills. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think this is a really important point for the listeners tuning in. We are so often terrified of going into the shadow or going into what we feel like is our own darkness or our pain or that muddy area that we just don't quite understand. But that so often is where the magic happens. And the fear of going to that place is so much worse than the reality of going to that place. And so I want everybody listening to really, really make that distinction and have that discernment that these shadow frequencies, to take the language that you're seeking, this really is the path to new levels of understanding and consciousness and self-awareness. So I'm so pumped for you to just dive in and tell me who I am.
I'm so ready. I think that was such a beautiful way of saying that. And to piggyback off of that really quick, to just give like an understanding of like high level, this, like, what is this? It's a, like you said, a self-awareness, a self-discovery, a self-awakening system. It's a system that teaches you about, really, it teaches you about why, or I should say what patterns you're experiencing from a place of fear and why, because there's a gift, there's a meaning, there's a reason hidden in it that has a higher purpose for you. And that is why you are here. So your hologenetic profile based on your birth information gives you the specific organization of gene keys in this chart, because there are 64 in the whole system, and it gives you your 11 that mean different things depending on where they are in your chart.
That is incredible. Yes. It never ceases to amaze me, the clues that God or the universe, or however you want to label this higher power that we experience, is constantly giving us. All of these breadcrumbs.
Yes, and you start to see how they're interconnected, right? And they overlap. And you're just, yes.
And each one of us has such a distinct purpose. And I love that too, because it makes me feel humbled, but it also, on the flip side, makes me feel incredibly loved and cared for.
Yes, like you are protected, you are watched out for, you are divinely guided.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the foundation of what the system like asks of you. It doesn't ask you to believe in anything per se. It's not a religion or anything like that. It's just a system to better understand yourself, and just asks you to believe that there is some force, there is something that is guiding you, that is here to help you find your bigger purpose, right?
I love it.
Yes. So with that, I just want to say again that basically each one of these 64 gene keys has 3 frequency levels that exist within it. So there's a shadow frequency, which is connected to fear, often victimhood or victim-oriented, experience, and the mind. Our mind is such a culprit in why fear gets reinforced over and over and over again, why we fall into the same patterns over and over and over again. So there's always going to be a reason of how intellect and the mind is playing a part in the shadow frequency being in your life.
Because we can perpetuate it or we can choose a different path, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the shadow frequency, the mind, and then is there another layer?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just kind of embellishing on the shadow frequency there.
So
okay. Shadow frequency is just like, it's going to be a manifestation of the mind sphere, basically, is what the shadow is. Wow. And then the next frequency above that is the gift frequency that I was saying, the gift within the shadow. And that gift frequency is a trust-based frequency rather than a fear-based frequency. It comes from a place of trust in the unknown, in the flow, in the timing of your life. Like that's going to be the central theme. Yes. I
feel that. I feel that already. Yeah. For people who are listening and not watching, anytime I feel something deeply, I touch my heart and I don't really even realize that I do it. But I think it's my way also of connecting with other people and saying like, I see you and I hear you and I'm fully present for this.
Yes. Oh, I feel it. I really do. And I'm usually the same way. I'm up here as well. Energy. And so the last piece I just want to say, the third frequency is the highest frequency you can embody. It's called the Siddhi, which is SIDDHI. And it is often not something I tackle a lot in these conversations or even in like genius sessions with people, because it's the aspirational level of
ultimate level of consciousness.
Yes, it's like the goal, right? But it's like a little detached from like the human experience a little, right? Because it's like a little bit more in that higher level that it, of course, strive for, understand, explore. But usually the shadow and the gift is enough to just already spark a whole transformation.
Yeah. And I find that highest frequency is also at times hard to articulate because there's so much oneness in it. And you realize there's so much beauty everywhere that you go, why am I worrying about anything? Like my life matters, but it doesn't matter. My work matters, but it doesn't matter. It's like all of this gorgeous divine dichotomy. And so I can understand why it's really hard to speak about. And I struggle to articulate it. And I want to talk about it more on this podcast, but I haven't talked about that frequency a whole lot simply because when you enter into it, you just want to stay there forever. And you don't really, for me, I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to be in it.
Yes, because at that point, there's like almost no need to, right? You're like, I'm
exactly
no need for the explanation or the analysis. It's just you're there.
No, yeah, it's just energy. It's pure, unadulterated energy.
Exactly. So, I feel like you know this system already. You were speaking its core essence. So yeah, that's exactly what that highest frequency is. So we all embody all 64 of these. The whole point of the profile is just to give you that roadmap of inquiry around the ones that are going to most likely have the greatest presence for you in your life, dependent and in the context that the founder, Richard Rudd, created through the map, basically, of your profile. So